I killed somebody. I gotta lie low for a minute. Um, I'd probably take you in, but I would also be like, okay, what happened?
So I think I was able to, I don't know, find a connection with him on that. And that's the stuff that makes family.
That if they were to actually look at it and analyze it and actually judge it objectively, it's possible that it could call into question their entire belief system.
And that just shows like time has nothing to do with shit. Blood has nothing to do with shit. It's all about connection.
Why is it like, well, you have to defend family until you die? Like, take a bullet for every family member, defend them no matter what.
Like a dad who testifies against his serial killer son, and people are like, how could he turn on his son like that? I mean, his son was a serial killer, but how could he do that? I think I'm drunk. Hello and welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Casey, you know who, and you also know what to do. Like and share and subscribe. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's what all the cool kids do. And you want to be a cool kid, right? Even if you're old, like you're never too old to be a cool kid.
Hey, kid, you want to smoke some kitchen sink microscopy?
Whoa, man. I can see time. Whoa. The walls, man, they're breathing. Anyway, why am I so itchy? Um, so anyway, I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and yeah, Casey and I, we write our own music. It's out there. Links down below, probably somewhere on the channel. You'll find access to all that, and there's going to be a unique song at the end of this episode. Hopefully, we haven't run out yet. So Casey, what would you like to talk about today? What's on your mind?
Well, fam, I had a pretty interesting day. Well, that's one word for it. Euphemism, maybe. Yeah, I took my dad to a procedure, and we basically found out in no minced words that his days are numbered. And over the weekend, I went and re-listened to our episode on family, and I thought, like, why not revisit that, but also talk about like family's ending? And
Oh yeah.
in the first episode, which we'll probably link up there, that we talked about this, like we talked about how family means so much more than blood too. So it's like friendships ending can feel just like losing a family member.
Absolutely. Well, and even a pet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Losing a pet,
And
that's
that
like
happened yesterday. Well, not to me, but like to pets that were once mine. They're an ex's pets, but still I was like, I went to visit them on the other side of the state and see the cats one last time, like, and it's like, and that's probably what got me thinking about rewatching the family episode, is like, cats are family. I'm still broken up over the loss of my cat over 6 months ago.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think you ever really get over it. Like I still think about my mom, and that was 2011 when that happened. I
over 10 years already. Shit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Jeez,
Think
man.
about. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. Man, there's so many thoughts here. Like, are you thinking mostly in terms of loss of like a family member?
Just no, I mean, not specifically. I mean, certainly we can talk about that because that's, uh, that's gonna happen here soon. You went through it over 10 years ago. Like,
Mhm.
it's probably very interesting to explore, like being on the cusp of having that happen and being like kind of far away from it and examining how much of an impact that has and like how time really doesn't change it too much. Like
Yeah.
it alters it, it acclimates to its surroundings maybe, but it never really goes away.
Yeah, that's true. It it definitely never goes away. I mean, you kind of, I guess, you kind of get used to it, like used to that vacuum, that missing part of your soul, I guess.
Hmm.
You know, like speaking in terms of family that are not blood related. I mean, we lost Kelly uh
Right.
not that long ago, and it's still to me feels so weird
Me
to,
too. Yeah.
he's not around anymore, and like it he his presence in I'm in my life, and I'm sure yours, was really unique. He was
Oh
like
yeah.
a very, very unique person with very unique ways of seeing things, and like, and that's gone now. Like, I mean, all we have is memories, I guess. Um, and that's hard. And I don't want
Yeah.
to discredit, or I guess like make anybody else feel like they're not important or unique, because I mean everybody really is, but Kelly was, he stood out. Like when you walked into a room full of
Yeah.
people and he was there, he was the standout character in that room.
Yeah. And he wasn't perfect, but um, there were people that like totally wrote him off. Like people that were honestly closer to him than I ever was. And when that happened, Kelly and he and I became a lot closer,
Mm-hmm.
like because he would feel comfortable enough to talk to me about like how lonely that is and the feeling of abandonment from a lot of your friends. And I, you know what, like I relate to that because I went through that in a period in high school where um I chose.
Oh wait, your sound is not working.
What?
Oh wait, no, you're good now. I think it was just a glitch. It's okay.
Oh.
So okay, a period, you went through a period of time.
Yeah, a period in high school where I chose to fess up to like a minor crime or whatever that we got caught doing, and everyone else was just like, you should have lied about it, we're lying about it. And then like nobody wanted to talk to me because I didn't lie.
Jeez.
And like so I think I was able to, I don't know, find a connection with him on that. And that's the stuff that makes family,
Yeah, it
you know
does. Absolutely.
connecting like that. um I mean, really, all family is someone you can instantly have some kind of bond with, but
Hmm.
at the same time you could go years without talking and then pick up like nothing ever happened.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's a almost like a bond that exists irrespective of time and space.
Hmm.
And like a deep bond, because I know a lot of people who, like, well, if they don't hear from you for like a day, well, then they're not going to talk to you anymore or whatever. You have one little disagreement, and oh, yeah, that's it, peace out, I'm never going to talk to you again. But true family sees past that. Like, you know, you can leverage your past experiences and realize like, oh well, you know, this too shall pass, It's okay. It really doesn't matter. I mean, because you know, you remember all the crazy shit we went through. You know, like I mean, you and I, we have a history that is very colorful. Like a lot of crazy things have happened, and you know that I think sort of creates that bond
Yeah,
that will last indefinitely.
for sure.
Although there are people, you know, there obviously there's people who think that the blood is more important than anything else, that matters more than anything else. But there are a lot of those very same people who'd be very quick to essentially uh, excommunicate a member of their family for one small thing or
Right.
whatever, you know, like
I,
never talk to them again.
yeah, the blood is thicker than water thing. I mean, a great example is you know, my friend Jeff. Uh I knew him 3 4 years maybe, and he committed suicide when we were 19, and it still gets me, you know, 22 plus years later.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
same year was the first time I ever lost like a extended family member. My grandfather died with, complications of Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with him. And, they would pick me up from school every day, and I spent a lot of time with them.
Mm-hmm.
But in intervening years, I grew up and became a angsty teenager and didn't hang around family that often. So I didn't see them that often.
Mm-hmm.
And that just shows like time has nothing to do with shit. Blood has nothing to do with shit. It's all about connection.
It is. Well, and you know what's weird too is like I never actually met Jeff, but
I think
due to
once at Sherry's.
oh, okay, yes, all right, that's right. Yeah, one time, like very briefly, but I didn't really know him.
Right.
But because of your connection with him, like I have this kind of connection with him
Mm-hmm.
too. Like I feel something akin to what you feel because of how you feel about him. Like you've talked and told stories and things like that, and that resonates with me. Like, oh yeah, yeah, this is a dude I could probably hang out with too. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that experience before where someone I don't know, um, I've heard enough stories about them, posthumously, um,
Mhm.
that I start to feel like I knew them.
Yeah.
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew thee well.
Exactly.
Only I didn't ever meet Yorick.
Yeah, yeah. Man. Well, and it's probably through that bond, through that, I mean, for lack of a better word, love that you have for that person.
It is love,
That
yeah.
yeah, that it's sort of, I guess, it's contagious in a way. You could almost say that,
Yeah.
but I don't understand. I mean, family where people essentially kick someone out of the family,
Yeah.
or like, oh no, you know what, you've made too many mistakes, you know, we're never going to talk to you again, and you know, you don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, essentially. And I guess there could be circumstances where that would happen, but
Yeah.
even then, uh, I guess it depends.
Yeah. And I guess in defense of people that do that, and I don't think I ever really have even, but I'm going to defend it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see what they see,
Yeah,
so, like you said, there might be some situations where that makes sense. Well, it might not make sense on the outside
true.
to people that aren't, living that every day, and people throw judgment around so easily. about stuff like that. Like, oh, that was a bad decision. Why would they do that? You know, like people wonder why like people lash out and commit heinous crimes and stuff. And it's like, you got to think about like what pushed them there. And I've had people really push back or make fun of that idea, or, you know, try to say it makes me some kind of like apologist bigot or something. You know, like you just want to be a devil's advocate to the bad guys. And it's like, well, are they bad? Are we bad because we did one bad thing?
Yeah, actually, that what you're talking about, um, you know, analyzing things, putting yourself in the person's shoes and things like that. I, that's kind of science, really. That's a scientific way, a logical, methodical way of doing things, and a careful way of doing things. Instead of being reactionary and just assuming whatever and just going with it, you know, you take your time, you step back, and you listen and try to like, well, put yourself in the other person's shoes and see, like, okay, well, why would somebody do this? What are the circumstances? And I don't think I think people are very disinclined to do that these days. Well, clearly based on like cancel culture and shit like that. Like you, they people don't even bother to fact check something too. Like, I mean, what Carl Sagan said, his saying, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Like, you know,
not only do they not bother to fact check, but even if they did, they probably wouldn't know how to fact check.
And even if they found contradictory information, they might not believe it. That's the stupidest thing, too. It's like, okay, well, oh, here's the facts. Oh, well, that doesn't align with what I feel inside, or what I would like to feel, or how I'd like things to be. Well, you know, that isn't how the world is. Like, okay, it would be nice if the sky was orange, or you could flap your arms and fly somewhere, but you can't. We cannot do that. So these little childish fantasies, like, we have to push them aside and be rational. It drives me up the wall. Like, oh man.
But yeah, if people applied that to removal of a family member from their life, then okay, you know, like they gave it thought, and they weren't just like, oh, we don't agree, we're not going to talk. You know, like there's history, there's, you know, repeated behaviors and stuff like that that you may not know about.
That's true. Yeah, and it's really easy to look from the outside in and make assumptions, draw conclusions, you know, connect the dots. That's what people are really good at, by the way, you know, like blindly connecting dots. But it's easy to do that from the outside and kind of ignore, well, what was happening on the inside. And the same applies to I guess, from the larger world looking at a situation, right? Let's say something, it's a big newsworthy whatever. You know, some royal family member is excommunicated from the royal family or something, and everybody's kind of analyzing that and scrutinizing it. But it's also important for the family internally to do that too.
And like, you know, the same thing applies to cancel culture, I think, because I'm not always opposed to like no longer supporting something.
Sure. No, that's fair. And that is actually a great way, as an anarchist, like that is a very effective way to make change happen.
Well, it's when it works, it's very effective.
Yes.
It almost never works though. So it's not a very effective return on investment.
True. But the power of a mass of people doing
it's boycotting.
Yeah. Yeah,
cancel culture is boycotting.
sure. And it
like
definitely
almost never do either of those things actually achieve anything that
will
worthwhile.
well because usually it, like when you're talking about an individual, it can be quite effective. You can get somebody to lose their job, to commit suicide, things like that. But when you're talking about like a multi-billion-dollar international corporation, you know,
or a celebrity,
yeah, 1,000 people deciding not to buy their stuff, that's not going to make a difference.
mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah, money / notoriety is going to fly in here. Is going to like decrease the efficacy of any attempt to cancel / boycott something.
Yeah, it's a scale thing essentially. That,
yeah.
But when 1,000 people on Twitter could probably get somebody to lose their job, like very easily.
Yeah.
And that is kind of dangerous because
it's very dangerous because like in practice, cancel culture is actually unfortunately working more often than boycotting does.
Yeah.
And really that is arguably the worst flip you can have, because it would be better if boycotting shitty businesses actually achieved something.
Exactly.
But like picking on an individual and ruining their life, I'm not really cool with that, unless you really can convince me that this is like Hitler incarnate. Like,
exactly. Well, that is the problem, is how easily that can be done and how emotionally driven a lot of these things are. Like, they're not driven by logic. It's not like, oh, well, okay, we can see that this particular business does some shitty ass things or whatever. And you have data. You everybody can like agree, like, okay, Enron is a terrible company, and they did terrible things. I even most Enron employees would agree with that. um, but for a lot of these things, for like cancel culture, it's so nebulous and kind of just going off of like gut instinct or emotion or something, and just slamming somebody because of one thing they said one time, or the optics of what they said just wasn't right, or especially when they dredge up stuff from a long time ago, like a long time ago. Well, it was socially acceptable to say this, but then society changes and now it's no longer socially acceptable. And somebody out there finds this one thing that you said on MySpace or Friendster, like 20 years ago, and it's like, see, oh, that's a bad person. And then they just, it's like, it's like wasps that they swarm you and sting you. And the more they sting you, the more they get aggravated and they sting even more. And just like that, then it becomes a matter of just like, well, I just want to eliminate this person, just destroy them. And it could be over something completely trivial.
Oh yeah,
it's just some casual comment you said one time, or a meme you shared or something. Like, yeah.
Well, and to tie it to family a little more, like there's that weird effect going in the other way where you'll like defend them to the hilt, even if there's like a mountain of evidence against them, because they're family.
Oh, that is a very good point too. That the opposite occurs. That people kind of ignore the data and the information, and we'll like, oh, this is the hill I'm gonna die on.
And our culture is so ingrained in thinking that way with family that when there's an outlier, like a dad who testifies against his serial killer son, and people are like, how could he turn on his son like that? I mean, his son was a serial killer, but how could he do that? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, he should do that.
Yeah.
Like if he's got critical thinking, if he, sees the evidence for himself. Like, I mean, if if God walked into the room right now and said, "Hey, I'm God," and like made a, like a rabbit appear or something, I don't know. Like
Watch me
I'd be,
pull a rabbit out of my hat.
yeah.
Presto.
And then I'm like, well, no, I mean, like, no, I'm still an atheist, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm just like hanging on to an idea,
Mhm.
But if God brought me a rabbit, like I'd be like, okay, guess I'm not an atheist,
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for the rabbit, bro.
I'd rather have God bring a beer, actually. I mean, hey, if you're out there, God, bring me some beer. Free
I'd
beer.
rather have a good example.
Oh man. But that is a thing. And I think it also applies to a lot of different facets of society. The defending somebody, even in the face of stark evidence that something wrong has happened, or this individual or organization is really bad. I mean, people do it with church, the church, they do it with the government, they do it with their family, they do it with celebrities, like, OJ. Oh, but he was a famous person. Like,
Right.
well, he couldn't possibly have done that. But it's like, the thing is, he's a human being. Like, of course he could have done that. Like, he isn't special because he played football and was starred in a couple of movies and some commercials back in the day. Like,
OJ
it
was in
doesn't.
movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
What was it? Was it Naked Gun? I think possibly.
oh yeah.
Yeah. He was in a few movies, kind of like, I guess, cameo roles, like really
Cameo.
short, little things. Um, but people will automatically assume, because they have this connection with a person, that they can do no wrong. But that's dangerous. Like, oh yeah, oh well, how could my priest have possibly molested those children? He's a man of God.
Right.
Like, okay, well, just take
That's
that.
how you get the Catholic Church covering up pedophiles.
Yes, and somehow they're able to get away with it. But here's the thing: you got to take that thought, pick it up, and put it on a shelf, and then pick up your logic helmet and put it on, and think, like, because there are no saints in the world. Like, everybody is human. That, like, yes, there are good people, there are bad people, and I would say there are actually evil people out there. Um, it,
We had an episode about evil.
I think we did, yeah.
It's getting hard to remember. I think we're probably on or past 200 episodes now.
I know. It's like, did we do an episode about that? I think so. Or did I dream that in a fever one night? It's like, you're in bed, like, no, 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 no. Like,
I bet you I probably have had an episode in a dream. Like,
I have. I know I have. Yeah, there were dreams I had where we were recording.
That's funny.
Actually, they were kind of cool because it was like cool guests.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, I think that idea of defending family simply because they're family is kind of nonsense. Like, I mean, sure, if you have a bond with somebody, I mean, if you came to me and said, hey, uh, I killed somebody, I gotta lie low for a minute, um, I'd probably take you in, but I would also be like, okay, what happened? Like, and if it was like something super egregious, I'd probably ultimately do the right thing and turn you in. But I mean, if it was like an accident or whatever, like, okay, well, I could probably let some things slide, certain things. I mean,
and we should be applying that to everybody.
yeah,
Honestly, like we shouldn't just do it because they're our friend or family or whatever. Like, we should be like, okay, well, mitigating circumstances, I guess I kind of understand that. Like, I'm talking like there could be legit reasons to kill somebody,
Yeah.
but our society is structured in such a way that we think it's heinous.
Well, and it could be that the person is worried about the circumstances dictating a verdict, because the court system is not fair. It is not justice.
Oh no.
It was like in the 1700s, maybe kind of close to it, but definitely not now. It is a machine that is designed to I don't want to get too far into that, but I mean it's a machine, and it the cogs churn the bodies and make money, and
machines have parts that need to be changed every so often. When you don't change the parts, you get a shitty machine.
Or if you don't even inspect them for functionality,
right?
Like, oh well, that conveyor up there, yeah, pretty sure. I mean, it's been working for 100 years, right? It'll still work tomorrow.
Instead, we're like, well, let's put a little grease on it, or give them a little money.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, pass a few more laws. That'll fix it. That'll patch it right up. Oh yeah, this house of cards, it ain't falling down. No way.
That sounds like bribery. It's not bribery if you call it lobbying.
That needs to be an episode. We absolutely have to talk about bribery and lobbying for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I could see somebody being afraid, not of being afraid of the system, because the system is indifferent. It is a machine. It's like some terrifying robot in some sci-fi horror movie that is unthinking, uncaring, and just bent on like one singular task. It's like Terminator. Like, that is the court system. That is the justice system in the US. It I mean, yeah, maybe individual people. There are individuals in there. Every individual has their life. They think, they care about things, they might consider things, but when you get a bunch of people together, you get an emergent property, and that is essentially the Terminator. It's like, I'm going to take you out.
Yeah.
That's what the court system is. And people, the crazy thing is,
like people, Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I am the law. Oh wait, I should have had a gun in my hand when I said that. But the crazy thing is, people are so like, I guess they're kind of brainwashed to think that the court system is so just, and it's the freest, like in the US, the freest country in the world, and everything's so good, and of course this is the best way to do things, and it can't possibly do any harm. It can't possibly be a force for evil. No, it's a force for good, because the bad guys, right? You take the bad guys and you do the things to the bad guys and you put them in the bad guy box. That's what people think. Never do they question, like, does this actually work? Except for some people do. The people who have, been rung through the cogs and spit out the other side. They're the ones sounding the alarm, like, hang on a second, something's wrong here. But now, no, you're a conspiracy theorist, and well, you just deserved what you got. Like, can we, is there a middle ground where maybe we could possibly have a conversation about this and actually analyze it thoughtfully? Like, why do you have to have faith or be faithless? Like,
I can see how family is like government. Wow, it's interesting how it went there.
Yeah,
and
this
and
is the magic of KSM.
I know, totally. Like, that is so interesting. Like, if people would start thinking about it that way, like, oh, am I just hanging on to this political party because I think we're family? Like, I feel some bond with it.
Yeah.
I wow, that sounds like really heavy, but I think it's true. People have a bond with their politics.
Yes, and the church too, their faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is,
and we were talking about that before. Politics and religion are really no different.
well, absolutely. Like you said with the Catholic Church, all the really, honestly, really awful things that have happened in there, behind closed doors in secrecy, but because people feel
Or
this
right out
kinship.
in the open.
Well, true, yeah.
And they're like, God said.
but because they feel this kinship with that system, with their beliefs, they're unwilling to even open their eyes, like even gaze upon that dark corner and see if it's real or not. They just kind of like, oh no, no, I see nothing,
I
like,
mean, take George W. Bush.
mm,
And he was like, we need to go to war with those people because they hurt us and because God told me to.
yeah.
And then half the country, well, he's family. So yeah, he's stupid and he's like kind of war hungry and trying to get revenge for his dad and stuff. But
Yeah.
whatever, he's a Republican. So yeah, let's back him. Sure.
Yeah, your family of politics that like, oh,
yeah. 20 years on, look where we are.
Well,
like,
and we have many
Family
examples.
Feud got here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Family Feud is the best show. Oh my god. Oh,
when we
especially
interviewed Steve Harvey, that's how we'll know we made it.
Steve Harvey made that show fucking fantastic.
Imagine me saying a dad joke and Steve Harvey being like,
oh man,
his faces are the best, man.
I know his reactions, and well, no, his suits too. Dude is like impeccable taste in clothing.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, like, but the face is like people who can just make a face and say 1,000 words with it and make people laugh. It's like, it's fucking genius. Like
that he is. Well, he's kind of
like reflective comedy. It's like somebody said something and I'm going to react to it so much that you laugh at me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve Harvey is kind of like Rowan Atkinson. The expression is the joke.
Yeah,
like you can just have a certain body language or a stance or timing or something, and it's hilarious.
That is Rowan Atkinson, by the way. Like that's the perfect way to describe Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Huh. But you're right. Like in politics, it's very much like religion. People who ascribe to a particular party or family, shall we say, they ignore the faults, the things that somebody has done wrong. And because, well, this is the thing. This is why I think people do this in all of these different facets, is because let's take religion as an example. Okay, so Catholic priests, right? There are innumerable, unfortunately, accounts of abuse of children, but people are willing to look past that in the church and in the wider world because, well, this is my theory, that if they were to actually look at it and analyze it and actually judge it objectively, it's possible that it could call into question their entire belief system. And at that point, internally, everything they believe would fall apart. Like,
and that's upsetting. I mean,
it is.
I get it, but
it's necessary.
Yeah, it is. And in a similar vein, since we tied family to politics, kind of started talking about losing family and the pain of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we probably don't let go of politics very easily because we think of it as not necessarily family, but that same like genre, I guess.
Yeah, actually, okay, so think about it this way. Like my last name is Rosenblatt. My family, the Rosenblatts, we have our own like Rosenblatt sphere
Mm-hmm.
that we kind of enjoy, and it becomes part of your identity if you're a Rosenblatt. Everybody who's a Rosenblatt knows what that is. Um, and the same thing happens with any family or a religion or a political party, that you become so invested in it that it almost like engulfs your identity, like forms a shell around it, where what makes you you is your family, your name, right? Your heritage, where
Uh-huh.
you came from, the country of origin, your tribe, essentially. Um, and so it people are hesitant to challenge that, because, well, you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want,
Yeah.
because it's going to come back to you. Like you might lose your sense of identity if that whole family, if there's something exposed or something like that.
Yeah. I'm guilty of this,
Well,
like
well, think about it this way too. The last name Hitler, that's a
is gone.
family. Yeah. Who would, dude, imagine if you were an
That's the
employer.
only time cancel culture worked so much that it just like erased something from
I,
history.
I
Like,
think there were a lot of applications for name changes after World War II.
mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. That like we know of a Hitler that was bad. Well,
Right,
except
right.
for, but I
I
mean,
say cancel culture worked. I don't say that it's right.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
But to say like, well, what about Hitler's, you know, distant cousin or something, whoever,
well,
some
what if
family
his
member.
grandfather was a hero and none of us know it now because that was erased too?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like,
That's like reverse sins of the father. It's like,
yeah,
oh, this guy was so bad, we want to erase his fucking family line backwards too. Like,
yeah. Which is, I you shouldn't be ashamed of your heritage, like and we shouldn't shame people for their heritage, for like the lineage throughout time. I mean, if you're a Hitler, what I was going to say is, like, imagine if you were an employer and it was like John C. Hitler. Like, are you going to hire that person? Or are you going to be like,
well,
whoa, now hold on?
not if he's applying to a natural gas company.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Ooh, yeah. Uh, yeah, just a bit. um, oh,
Hi, good evening. Hope I didn't interrupt your dinner. My name is Mr. Hitler, and I'm wondering if I could interest you in natural gas. Oh man, I only lasted one day on that job.
exactly. I don't know any Stalins that are out there either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing. I don't know. Like I tend to agree with you, but also there are associations that are made. However
Sure.
fair they happen to not be, they do happen. And so like to do something that avoids something else that shouldn't happening, right? Is that bad? I don't know. Like,
I,
does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. I just,
Like if canceling something actually could kind of prevent like other bad shit from happening. Like, well, it's like you don't name somebody Torple because they'll get picked on, right?
mhm.
But like, why shouldn't you be fucking name them Torple? Like we make up names all the time. Some of them just sound better to people.
Sure. Now, it wasn't Hitler's last name that made him do all the things that he did. So should
and I
we?
don't think anyone would argue that, but it's
Yeah,
the association, right? I mean,
sure.
it's such a strong association that it has its own logical fallacy.
Mhm.
Like reductum ad Hitlerium.
Yeah.
Like they took a language that was dead back then,
Yes.
and took that family name and gave it a Latin version.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking, like, impactful big, not like awesome big. Just
Exactly.
making
Well,
that clear. Like,
maybe as a human being with a last name or a family or a culture or a country that you reside in, well, maybe this is a lesson. Like, hey, don't be a dick. You don't want to give your whatever, like whatever you're associated with, you don't want to give that a bad name by being so awful.
mm-hmm.
It like, hey, maybe maybe we should be good to each other. But that
Yeah,
might be asking too much from humans.
that's sad too.
I know. Well, there's a lot of humans in general are very good people, like, and do very good things. But you get the outliers that are so bad that they stand out and become the definition of whatever people associate with. Uh, I mean, we could very easily today see Germany as Hitler, like, but no, we don't. We see Hitler, the name Hitler, as that.
Don't
Uh,
there
maybe not
I would bet
today.
you there are some people who probably still ignorantly associate them with Hitler. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm just guessing here, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very
I
possible.
mean, I mean, like, until all this shit with Ukraine, would you say you were kind of a fan of like Russian culture, like the Russian language? Like, you took Russian in high school,
Yeah.
right? Like, but we had this whole Cold War thing, and like, like our generations kind of felt somewhere in the middle of the USSR and Russia. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're kind of like seeing that transition in this
Yeah.
generation. Like,
Yeah.
that's the pre-Hitler, post-Hitler Germany transition that our parents kind of saw, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I I still sort of feel that same way about like Russian culture and history and the people. I don't think the
Yeah, it's
average
separate
Russian
from the
person,
politics.
yeah, I don't think the average Russian person is a bad person. I mean, they might be ignorant of
Mhm.
the facts, right? Because, well, most people there, the older generation gets their information from state TV. And of course, state TV is essentially propaganda. The younger
But how do
generation,
we know we have the facts?
well, that's true. Yeah, we don't. And generally, you learn the facts after the fact. Like, once it's all said and done, well, the Iraq War too. You mentioned
Oh,
GW. Um, in the moment, all the US citizens had in their toolbox of knowledge was, oh, yellow cake uranium. I remember that. Colin Powell holding up that vial there, like, yep, they're making bombs and stuff like that. And you think, oh, okay, well, obviously we should stop that. Although I thought at the time I was kind of like, well, that's a bit hypocritical because there's all these other nations, including our own nation, that has nuclear bombs. So
right.
what gives? Like, wait a
Yeah.
second here.
And we've talked about that a few times.
Yeah, but I could, like, in that light, I get why people were behind the Iraq War and Afghanistan and all that stuff, especially because there was a very emotional moment that we went through, 9/11. And of course, the powers that be were very clever in putting those together in a package that like got you all amped up behind it.
I
But that's what's happening in Russia too right
I
now, I
think
think.
we need some subjectivity in media. All
Mhm.
of this is reminding me of a few episodes ago. You had said TikTok might actually be a good thing because we get that instant news. But
Yeah.
is that really I was thinking about this earlier actually. Is that really a good thing? Because instant news doesn't have all the facts yet.
Well, that's true. Although TikTok,
It's one pinpoint perspective in the moment, like it just processed what happened and it's putting it out on display and it goes viral essentially, right? Without all the facts. It went viral.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
And
just you're
people
just.
automatically just think, "Oh, that's true because I saw it." And
Mhm.
you know,
Which, and we know video can easily be altered now. Deep fakes, that really scares me. We should actually do a video about that because that is whoa.
should, yeah.
Whew, man. Um, I get. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, I think people should have access to information, but I also think people should be educated enough to be able to be critical thinkers about the information they're receiving. Like, we shouldn't blindly accept everything that comes our way. I, but we should trust people to know enough to be able to analyze things in a critical way. And if we're not trusting people, then why haven't we taught people critical thinking? It, like the problem isn't the information. The problem is the analysis. The people themselves, like their ability to like figure out and sort out the bullshit, like the wheat from the chaff, essentially. Um,
What if the problem is creating a bucket called family?
huh?
Like what is family? Like we can define it all we want, but like in reality, like what the fuck is it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
is it really a thing or is it just something we made up? I think it's something we made up, you know,
I'd be inclined to agree with you on that. Yeah,
like yeah, you
absolutely.
share some genes with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you share genes with trees.
And fish and
Yeah,
and
like
dolphin.
no bullshit. Like anything that's living is
Mhm.
sharing some gene. Like where do you draw this line and call it family?
That's actually a really good point, is what that threshold is.
Yeah,
And
and how much
why.
that blinds you, you know?
Sure. And why under this threshold it's one way. Like if we're in a Boolean system, right, it's like zero under the threshold and over the threshold it's one. Why
Mhm.
do we work that way? Why don't we work on fuzzy logic? Why can't we allow for some variance and things like that? Why is it like, well, you have to defend family until you die, like take a bullet for every family member, defend them no matter what. um like, but if they're not family, well, then anything goes and you could just be a dick all day long to them. Like, and then like you asked, like, what is the definition? What defines family? And I would say here's a point where I would ask people in the comment section, like, define family. What does family mean to you? Like, because I think it means something different to everybody out there. and,
Yeah,
and
dude, like timestamp, share this shit and say what family means to you and make that shit go viral. Like what if this moment right now could change everybody's perspective about the idea of family?
mm,
Like dilute it a little bit. Say family is whatever I choose it to be. You know, like
yeah.
it's my scientific method for determining who good people are
Well,
in
and
my relative universe.
yeah, and I think being honest with yourself and with other people is really important too. Um, and having a justification, like a logical reason why you think the way you do. This is actually kind of core to everything. I feel like this whole episode is going to be groundbreaking in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But having a justification, like, why do you think the way you do about a thing? Ask yourself the question. I don't care. I have my own vision about things and my own worldview. But ask yourself those things. We all should be questioning ourselves and our own motivations and our own perspectives all the time, because the wind shifts directions and things like that. And
Yeah.
like,
Well, and family members die. You know,
yeah.
like going back to the loss, it's like, yes, it hurts. You know, like if you change something,
Mhm.
you will have fond memories of that that bring you pain.
Yeah.
That's just part of life. Everything dies, not just people. Ideas die, you know,
Yeah.
and we have connection to
Ooh.
them, and we strive to keep them from dying. And the only things we can do that with really are ideas. People just die, you know, like
Yeah.
biological matter decays to a point, and we
Well,
cannot stop that. Like,
entropy, that I was
yeah,
actually going to do a minute microscopy about entropy and how it scares me so much.
yeah.
Uh, man, I have nightmares about, like, the only nightmares I have now deal with entropy,
and
like
well,
decay and things falling apart. And
entropy exists within ideas too.
yeah,
Like,
it
like
does.
entropy is driving us towards anarchism, and it ensures anarchism will fall apart and not work
Yeah.
at the same time. Like
Or
it's
it could,
constantly going
like,
back and forth. Like at some point we'll live in reverse world. Yep, 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 yep. Ask him, you know, like,
oh man, Red Dwarf reference. It's not a good KSM video without one of those. Oh man. Oh, if I had some
it's true though. Like you know, it's not just physics. I think the same types of principles apply in ideas. Like
Mhm.
if you go so far this way and build up all this kinetic energy, you're going to go just as far back the other direction at some point.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Like
you
thermo
got
fucking dynamics, people.
you, things. Yes, the universe does work on cycles. And there's also the principle of, like, wrapping around, where you go so
Mhm.
far in one direction, you just kind of flip to the other side. So you go so far negative that you become the same value on the positive side and
Yeah,
keep going. Like, it does happen.
right.
Yeah, it.
And you can watch it happen because take entertainment, right? Like a show like Dexter 40, 50 years ago, you think that could have existed? But now we've got a gray protagonist slash antagonist. Like you can't tell. You've got a serial killer who kills other serial killers.
Or Breaking Bad is a good
Yeah,
example of that. Like,
it's
yeah.
like what's bad, what's good. Like that's the key takeaway from shows like that. That's actually super brilliant.
Well, in fashion is another thing. Um, I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, um, certain things were fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then they went out of fashion.
Hammer
And
pants and
yeah, yeah. Well, you had, like, ripped jeans and jean jackets and
oh, those are all
mohawks and all
coming
this stuff.
back.
Yeah, so that all went away and became stupid. And then the 60s was a thing again. So bell bottoms and hippies and stuff, that was cool in the 90s.
Yeah.
They still maintain the bright colors and weird wiggly shapes and stuff like that. But yeah, now the 80s is back again. I think I'm things go in cycles.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I don't know where we're going with this.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of directions to go with. It's
Mhm.
interesting that, you know, the first time we talked about family, it was very focused on family. and like that episode made people cry. Like
Yeah.
it was something so touching. Like this aspect of family, though, I think is really going to make people have that like whoa kind of moment.
Well,
You know?
like I said, I think this episode is kind of game changing if people are willing to watch the whole entire thing. I mean, if you're here
Mhm.
still watching, yes. Oh,
Yeah,
fist bump. Yeah.
you you should spread the word that the whole experience of kitchen sink microscopy is a start to finish journey,
Mhm.
and just getting into the conversation is much like a drug.
It
You know,
is. It very
it's a
much is.
ride. It has an end, but it varies in length,
Mhm.
in intensity.
It was kind of like a trip to Disneyland. You know, you've got your roller coasters, you've got your slow kiddie rides,
You
you know,
got your
kind of,
long lines.
yeah, long lines, standing in line in the hot sun in Florida. Um,
That's Disney World.
oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Not to be pedantic.
It's okay. I thought I said Disney World, but you know, I went to Disneyland, didn't go to Disney World. I was in Florida, didn't go, sadly. I wanted to see Epcot Center. Fuck. Buckminster Fuller. I wanted to see that that building. Holy shit. Like as an engineer, I love this guy. Like that.
Fuck
Oh,
Mr. Fuller. What
yeah. Oh yeah, he was all about like triangles and geodesic domes and stuff like that. And this was kind of like an example of why those are so cool because it's the biggest, hugest geodesic. Well, it's like a sphere actually, not a dome. Um, but yeah, I wanted to see
yeah.
that. Didn't get to see it, unfortunately. Just had to go get sunburned on the beach and watch my cousin get stung by a stingray, and then both of us were rolling around with in the scruffy but clean bungalows that we were staying at, um, sleeping on wool couches with no AC. Well, there was AC, but it didn't do anything. It just kind of was like a fan.
Oh yeah,
Um,
wool couches were a thing. That's right.
yes. Oh my god.
Oh, gross. It was like sitting on one of those Brillo pads you do your dishes with.
Yes. Oh yeah. Imagine being sunburned or having your foot stung by a stingray and having to sleep on a wool couch. Like, oh, that was the worst night. That was so bad. Oh my god. Oh. So that's my memory of Florida. Yeah.
I don't know how we got there,
Ugh.
but
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but anyway, yeah. Um,
it's just it's crazy. Like this is this show is therapeutic. Like this is what I needed after getting news like I'm gonna lose my dad pretty soon. You know, whatever
yeah.
pretty soon is. And you know, like I found myself thinking, like, as the doctor was talking to me and about like how we need to decide how comfortable he's going to be, I'm thinking like at least with my cat, I was able to say, oh, she's suffering. I need to like put a stop to this as soon as possible. You can't do that with a human.
No.
And that makes me sad because it's like, oh, I'm forced to choose my dad's suffering or my dad's suffering a little less. You know, like
Yeah.
what?
And that actually didn't we talk about the whole assisted suicide thing?
We did. Yeah, that was a great episode too. Like
Yeah.
I think
Like
I cried in that one.
I well, I think I did too. But I I mean, I'm all for that. Like if you look, if you know that you're going to go out, your organs are failing or you have some kind of problem, Alzheimer's, that's another thing. I watched my grandpa go through that, as you did.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've often
maybe.
thought like if I had a terminal disease, I would just, I don't know, like not be like Batman necessarily, but like I would try to go out in the middle of the night and just like roam around and look for somebody who needs their life saved or, sacrificed in place of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And try to save somebody.
Yeah, use the
Like,
last moments of your life to
yeah.
help another life.
And maybe that's because I don't have my own, like, I couldn't have kids, right? Like, that need to be altruistic to, like, I don't know, like, spark another life with my own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, that's how kind of how I want to die. Like, if,
Mm-hmm.
like, I would prefer to know, like, oh, I'm going to die pretty soon, and then just be like, you know what? I think I've made my peace. I'm ready. I'm going to go find a way to die and save someone's life in the doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
why
and
not? Like, things like that have to happen. If they're going to be tragic, it really ought to be with somebody who's just actually ready to die.
sure.
Like
It,
kamikaze, really.
well, I was going to get to that. Um, yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there that their idea of death in their head, if I'm going to die, I want to die with my family around me in a hospital bed and everybody like crying and praying or doing whatever they do.
That sounds
um
boring.
yeah, so why is that state mandated? Why can't I just be like, you know what, I'm going to go out on my own terms? And
Yeah.
this is where, like, I think we talked about Sky King a little while back, on the snapping
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if I knew I was gonna go out, fuck yeah, I would like break into an Air Force base and steal a fighter jet, take an F-18 or something like that, and fly it, and then just crash it. Like, go out in a blaze of glory. Why not? Be remembered.
Yeah.
Or yeah, like you're saying, help somebody, be the last line of defense for another life.
I would
um
specifically want to help somebody because, like it's kind of dangerous territory to talk about the kamikaze philosophy because I feel a little weird about that in like taking other lives with your life. I'd prefer
yeah,
to save a life with my life.
well, in
A
the
net
case of,
zero. Like,
yeah, well, in the case of Sky King, he deliberately
mhm.
chose Ketron
Yeah.
Island, which is very sparsely populated, so it was kind of seemingly a safe place to
And
crash
killed
into.
those, or like we talked
Yeah,
about that. They went out of their way to make sure nobody got hurt.
yeah,
That's great.
they
Like
just wanted to make a statement,
that's like
or
kind of like chaotic neutral, I guess you would call it. It's
mhm.
like nobody got hurt except him and he wanted to die, so that's his choice, whatever, like
Yeah,
okay.
and I can respect that. I could totally respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just put yourself in another person's shoes. Like everybody has a point where they just like can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is. And
Yeah.
your body might make that decision for you sometimes. But no matter what, we all end. Everything ends. Ideas
Yes.
end, people end, trees end, everything all dead,
Everything.
Dave. They're all dead. Everyone is dead,
Yes.
Dave.
Everything will eventually die and it will be reclaimed by nature and recycled as nature does.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I just don't want to have that happen in a hospital bed. Like
Yeah.
I I couldn't do that.
And
That would
like
be
my
like the
dad,
most, like if I were like hooked up to a bunch of equipment to sustain my life, it would be traumatizing for me. I don't want that.
That's what how my dad thinks, because there was an
Yeah.
option for him to do something like that, and he's like, he wouldn't be able to drive, he'd be prone to falling over. He
Mhm.
already is,
Yeah.
like he was like, I don't want to do that, like it would make him more comfortable, but like
And
he,
your dad is a badass.
oh yeah, he got hit by a car and walked away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's gonna die at 71, 72, maybe, like,
Yeah.
hopefully 72 at least. I
At
mean,
least, yeah.
he's got a 50th anniversary coming up, so like let's at least make it there and celebrate,
Exactly.
like, you know even though time is bullshit, like
Mhm.
it's fun, it's a
It's a
reason to have fun.
milestone.
People have fun. That's why shit on that,
Yeah,
like.
yeah, exactly. Oh.
But yeah, it's just he's taken this attitude, and I recognize a lot of my recent changes in thinking in a similar direction. And it's like, we only have so much life on this earth. Why not have fun now?
Hmm.
And instead of like fighting to make sure we can have fun tomorrow,
Yeah.
why not worry more about the here and now?
But that would be carpe diem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like live
Exactly.
for
Yes.
today, seize the day, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like we should be doing that. Like you don't know that you're going to even live to 70 something years old. Um
I kind of fully think I won't. I'm
so
kind
why
of
not
fully, that doesn't really make sense, but
so why not live your life to the fullest? Like
yeah,
and I believe we should do the most good. Like there's acquisition. Yeah, the Ferengi, they're fucking wrong. Acquisition is meaningless.
the
Like you
Ferengi are
don't
so American.
we don't have to collect a bunch of stuff. Um it's fine to do that, sure, but share share what you've learned, share what you have. um I'm one of those people. I have collected a shit ton of tools, and anybody who wants to use those tools is always welcome to come by and use them. Just don't break them.
For any purpose.
Well, I mean, you don't want to. Please don't use the 3/4 inch auger drill bit to drill into somebody's skull in their sleep. That would not be nice.
That wasn't the direction I was going, but okay.
But I mean, if you need to fix your car, you need to do some repairs or whatever.
Need
Like,
to
look,
strap a dildo on a drill.
well, okay, I'm not going to say I haven't done that or haven't used a windshield wiper motor with the reciprocating thing and built a frame with a PVC tube with a dildo on top of it. Um, I'm not going to say I've done that, but it's possible.
Why am I picturing Red Green saying something about being handy?
If the women don't find you handy, they or don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh boy.
Red Green, love that show. That's a great show.
Poor man Sibian. Anyway,
Mhm.
that went a different direction.
Well, but the point is, like, I have spent a long time learning things and acquiring things, and I'm absolutely willing to share those things with people who need them or want them, or share information with people. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I went to the school of hard knocks. I've learned a lot of stuff.
I
I'll
think that's
teach
why
you
we
how
love
to do
doing this
stuff.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. Like we don't. I mean, we don't make nothing, but we basically make nothing.
Pretty
You
much,
know,
yeah.
and so it's like we just do this because it feels good, it feels right, and
Hmm.
every now and then somebody really likes what we have to say, and that's a positive.
Yeah.
So
At some point, we're gonna touch somebody's life and make their life better.
Like more
what
people have thought we're awesome than have thought we're like a bane on the existence of humanity. So I think we're doing something right.
yes, I think so. And I mean, what more could you ask for? If you
Yeah.
knew your life was coming to an end, wouldn't you want to know that you could leave behind a legacy of betterment of some sort?
I mean, I can think of a couple actual instances in my life where something really cool has been made. I've been made aware of my existence being the cause of that good thing. You know, like one friend told me they went back to college because they saw that I did it.
Huh.
You know, like with all the hardships I went through, I went and finished my degree and did what I wanted to do, right? And they did the same thing then.
Well, yeah,
I wrote
because
a book, and this autistic fellow I went to university with was like, I'm also now inspired to write a book because you wrote a book.
huh,
Like, so those are pretty cool things that I did, and if I hadn't existed, those things wouldn't exist.
yeah. Oh man,
Kind of cool.
that is a very like fulfilling thing.
And I don't say
And
that as bragging. I mean, it's two things in a world with 7.4 billion people or whatever, you know.
yeah, and it's a thing you don't need a lot of resources to do. Everybody, honestly, everybody could do it. We could all do those kinds of things. Inspire somebody to
I
be
I'd
better
argue
or do
everyone
something.
does, whether they know it or not. Like,
Yeah.
you matter. Oh, I cannot believe I said that. I mean, it sounds mushy, but it's true. Like, you make an impact. Well, you make lots of impacts. Some are good, some are bad. More
Mhm.
than likely, most of them are good because look at the odds we fought to evolve to the point where we are. You don't evolve by doing mostly shitty things.
No, that's true.
So, for the most part, humanity is good,
Hmm.
you know, on that fundamental level.
Yeah.
You want to get nitpicky about things? Okay, fine. You know, like whatever bucket you want to call bad, you can find a reason to put somebody there.
Sure. Yeah, I think you know everybody, every age for everybody, we should be thinking, how does my life inspire or impact another person? Like, leave behind a legacy. What do you want on your tombstone? That like to
Yeah.
to quote the pizza company. I mean, but it's a good point. What are they going to write? Like, oh, well, he had a lot of money. Or do you want it to be like, this person changed the world? They were an inspiration to everybody they came into contact with. You got some flies over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh
Season for them.
Speaking of family, my dad was just calling me, and you know, it might be a good time to wrap up.
Yeah, we're over an hour now, so
Yeah.
I think it's good, and I'm sure there's a song if you
Oh yeah.
listen carefully.
I hear something on the wind.
Yeah, coming in.
Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing like a jasmine in my
Oh.
mind.
Oh, we'll have to. I wasn't gonna break into song with you too because yeah, but we'll do that someday.
Copyright strike.
I know. All you have to do is say that, roughly sing the lyrics, even if it's not even the same key, and they're like, "Oh, yep, copyright strike." Ugh, man, I don't want that to happen with our music though.
No.
I like I get the whole idea behind copyright, but I want derivative works. I want people to take our songs. I don't know about you, but my songs are fine, like on the table, and make your own stuff out of it. You know, like
Well, hell yeah. Like,
do like a remix or a music video or something. Fuck yeah, I would totally be behind that.
people wouldn't know Walk This Way if Run DMC didn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
With Aerosmith, you know.
I know.
Yeah. So take our shit, do what you will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's no such thing as bad press or whatever, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Oh man.
So check out the song, like, share, subscribe. Tell all your buddies how fucking awesome kitchen sink microscopy smoking is. Is roll that KSM up.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a nice one.
That's family flavored.
Family flavored. Oh hell yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and like put your comments down there. What do you think family is? What do you think about this episode? Share your thoughts. Keep the conversation going down there. You know, hey,
as they say, puff puff comment.
Wait a minute. They don't say that. You did. But hey, here at KSM, we're all family.
Interphase. The facets